All right, well, good morning and good afternoon to all who are joining us today on IBM's AIX Community Surveys finding for 2019, a survey that was conducted by Help Systems back in the December timeframe of 2018. We're excited to be here today. We have some great hosts and executives from IBM joining myself, Tom Huntington from Help Systems. We are recording this event, so you will be able to play it back at a later point in time. We expect the event to last maybe nearly an hour, depends upon how many questions you all have at the end. And throughout the event, we will be conducting 2 polling questions. We hope that you'll participate with that. After the event, you will get some handouts from this session. And of course, there's a PDF version of the AIX community survey too. That's a download from the Help Systems website that you'll have access to. So without further ado, let's get to our guest here. And first of all, Petra, if you could introduce yourself and what you do for IBM.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. So I'm part of the worldwide offering management team within Power Systems or Cognitive Systems, how we are called these days. And I have actually several areas of responsibility, but one very important one is the AIX portfolio, which of course is the base AIX, but as well AIX capabilities throughout the stack. So for instance, within our Power Systems software portfolio.
Excellent. Thank you, Petra. And Terry Thomas.
Hi, my name is Terry Thomas. I am director of our enterprise offerings. That specifically means our AIX, IBM I, as well as our virtualization and security, which Petra also owns our security offerings, and HA offerings as well within our overall enterprise portfolio. So glad to be here, and thanks for having me.
Well, it's wonderful. Thank you, Terry and Petra. I'm Tom Huntington. I'm our EVP of Technical Solutions at Help Systems, and kind of an oddity in the high-tech world. I've been with Help Systems 30 years. And then I'm also honored to be an IBM Power Champion, and I've been in that role or that recognition for the last 4 years. So very excited to be here with Terry and Petra. Let's get started on our agenda here today. First thing we're going to do is, so the survey was conducted in December, and we'll share some demographics from the survey. We'll share what's in the data center in regards to AIX and power technology, IT initiatives, what's on your mind when it comes to your concerns and what you're thinking about in the future, outlook for IBM AIX and Help Systems, and throughout the way, Petra and Terry are going to update you on some of the different power technologies around the hardware and the AIX operating system. So when we moved into demographics, we had a 650 survey takers this year. And again, this was conducted in the kind of mid to later part of December. And this is the 3rd year of doing the survey itself. So very excited that we had as many people take the survey, a bit higher concentration in the USA marketplace with 86%. I know, Terry, this is not the distribution worldwide. Maybe you can talk to a little bit what you see in the world around the demographics around AIX.
Yeah, thanks, Tom. So first of all, AIX is global. We have presence consistently around the world. Our larger densities are definitely in the US and Europe, but also we see a high adoption rate and deployment in India and other key places such as Austria as well. With that said, IBM AIX is most often used by large enterprises and where there's large revenue as well. However, since we've been on a journey in deploying our scale out systems, which are more smaller configured systems, and some of them specifically targeted for hyper-converged solutions where customers can have a one-stop shop for their workload and configuration management, as well as Linux. We've seen a significant adoption in smaller enterprises as well. Mm-hmm. So, all right, so this is a snapshot. I think it represents definitely what we see in the U.S., but there's also high density in other areas as well.
Excellent, thank you, Terry. The other question that we had, besides size of organization and where you were located from, was what industry were you in? And a really good mix of industries here. Again, I'll turn it back to you, Terry. Any surprises in industries? Some areas maybe you expected to be a little larger, a little less?
No, this is, surveys are surveys, and this, I think this is fair from the survey you took in December. Just a point, I'll just start at a high level. 80%, 80 out of 100, 80 out of the Fortune 100 companies have power systems,
Mm-hmm.
and they trust power systems to run and manage their businesses. And this includes, Tom, from banking to retail. You can find power systems making a difference globally. Many of these also, this is just a snapshot of AIX, but IBMI is also considered a consistent and reliable platform, as well as Linux, industry standard Linux running on Power as well. And this is because, the reasons are important, the why. When you see this type of information, you have to ask, why are so many customers relying on AIX and Power? And that's because as Petra and team continue to focus on scalability, performance, and security, while maintaining a long-standing reputation as a reliable server in the industry, clients appreciate that focus. And it's a co-optimized approach where the AIX operating system and the hardware are tightly coupled to make sure that customers can run their workloads reliably and trustworthy, and have trustworthy performance.
Excellent. So what I'm going to do now is we want to see from you what your experience is with AIX. How many years of experience do you have? So you should have a poll up in front of you right now where you can answer 1 or less years, 2 to 5 years, 6 to 10 years, 11 to 15 years, or more than 15 years of experience. And AIX is not necessarily a new operating system, but I'll have to say what you all have done with Power 9 and keeping AIX current with all the technology is certainly new for people, even though that we've had quite a few long-term customers on this platform. So just a few moments while we wait for you to answer this question. It looks, let's see, looks pretty good. We're at about a quarter of you've already answered, so let me close the poll and share with you the results. And you should see that a good mix of you have more than 15 years, and so it's great to have you along. You are what I'd call the stewards of the operating system of AIX. 20%, 11 to 15 years, and then the rest is a pretty even split, about 13% between less than 1 year, 2 to 5 years, 6 to 10. So a little more slanted on the longer term users, but I think that you probably are the ones who are really invested in the operating system. And so moving forward, you need to know what's the future of my AIX operating system, where's it going? And so we're here to help you out. And one of the next slide we did is we asked people, how many administrators do you have for AIX and how many years of experience do you have for AIX? And we kind of answered that in today's first polling question. Petros, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, I think that needs to be put into relation, right? And we saw like 42% have more than 1,000, and almost 10% of the people that answered that survey have more than 5,000 employees. So I guess that's the reason why we see quite a few admins here.
Yeah, I think we got the larger customers on the survey this year.
Yeah, I agree. And the second question, which was the same that we asked just in the poll, right, Paul? And I mean, it's basically showing the same trend. And of course, we have a lot of AIX admins that are around for a while, but we as well can see that almost 15% have 5 years or less experience, which I think is a good message and shows companies prepare for what happens when some of the other ones might transition to retirement after having worked in the AIX space for like 30 years, right?
Right. And I think that that's not an unusual thing we see globally in IT, is that, organizations are forced with a shortage of staff, and whether it's mainframe, IBM AIX, Linux, it doesn't matter. There's never enough high-tech people. Let's move our attention, speaking of the data center, into the data center, and have Petra, if you wouldn't mind talking a little bit again about this slide and what's in your data center related to power servers and how many partitions.
Sure. And again, I mean, this is related to who took the survey, right? And again, a high percentage of big clients, thus they potentially have a lot of servers. What is positive to see, I think, is that clients seem to leverage our power capabilities, right? And we can see a lot of them have a lot of partitions running. Key to mention here, I think, is that with every hardware generation, like with Power 9, right, clients can do more workloads with less servers, and thus it's great consolidation opportunity each time. And we have seen many client success stories with Power 8 and Power 9. What might be interesting is next time to have a follow-on or add-on or write-in question on, well, how is this different from like 5 years ago or something like that.
Sure. Well, the nice thing is with 3 years of history, we'll be able to start doing that maybe next year's, doing some side-by-side comparisons of growth.
Good point.
Yeah. So Terry, what are your thoughts on this one?
Hey, thanks, Tom. Yep. And piggybacking on what Petra just stated, the fact that we do see a large amount of or high percentage in server and virtualization, it speaks to our robustness and our virtualization capabilities with power systems. I was a part of the team years ago that really kicked off in development some of the key things in power systems to enhance our virtualization with thread capability, as well as partition capability, as well as being able to move those partitions around. We've been on a great journey here, and this data confirms that customers are deploying and using that technology within their production environments. One thing I'd like to add is that with Power 9, clients can also use VMware, vRealize, and IBM Private Cloud to manage their cloud environments on-prem as well as in a multi-cloud. And they can run this also, their AIX partitions, they can run alongside IBM I, Linux, and Linux containers such as Kubernetes. So I expect these numbers to grow as customers experience and adopt the new things we have coming forward for ease of managing economics around on-prem and off-prem cloud capabilities.
Excellent. All right, well, let's move on and talk about the operating system itself and AIX and staying current on that. Petra, what's your thoughts on this one?
Well, yeah, from my perspective, this chart shows very well our distribution trend, I would say, across various operating system levels. And actually, we have seen a significant uptick in AIX 7.2 compared to 7.1 in 2018. This is not completely reflected in that chart, but yeah, 7.2 is really growing fast, I would say. Of course, our ultimate goal would be to have no clients left in that section stating, well, older, and of course 6.1 shrinking as quickly as possible, and basically get most of our clients on 7.2, which leads to this chart here, which has the support metrics, right, outlining which operating systems levels are supported on which hardware generation. And as we can see, only 7.2, which is the latest, greatest, is enabled to run, well, in native Power 9 mode on Power 9 versus, well, 7.1 and 6.1 will be in Power 8, P8 and P7 compat mode, which has some limitations. And like with 5.3, which has end of life soonish, was not at all enabled on Power 9. And if you click once more, a couple of words will appear on the right-hand side with our strategy, right? That really we put new innovations in 7.2. That 7.1, the last TL shipped 1.5 years ago, still in usual support. 6.1 in its extended support period, which implies additional fees in order to get on continued support. And 5.3, which will finally have its end of life April this year. And from my perspective, this is really a key point, right? Clients need to be aware if they continue to run 5.3 beyond April, they run unsupported, which means no new fixes, no security fixes, things like that. So that's a risk they are putting themselves at. So I highly recommend for clients still running 5.3 to come up with a plan how to get more current. Yeah, and I mean, yeah, on this chart, we have the AIX release roadmap, and I just wanted to point out this year because I get questions from time to time. Well, is AIX going away? Will it fade? Is it dead? Because there's not yet something announced such an AIX 8. And well, a couple of people think that's a weakness. I mean, I put it the other way around. As AIX, and we have the strength to deliver major new capabilities through technology levels. There's no need for a massive kernel change, for applications to recompile, for ISVs to recertify. So the only reason why we should put out an AIX 8 would be due to marketing reasons or for the analysts. But if you talk to our clients, to the technical people, they don't want that because there's a lot of pain associated with moving to a complete new release stream. And I guess a lot of the participants here know what I'm talking about. So we will continue to deliver major improvements through technology levels on AIX 7.2, but won't put out an AIX 8 in the short run unless we get across technical hurdles that might force us to.
Right. You know, I just had that question yesterday on LinkedIn, and I said, come to the webinar. We'll talk about the future of AIX and where it's going. And, you know, I'll concur with you. The regulations that we have today, people don't want as many changes, major changes that they have to go through, and it causes them a lot of pain when it goes from one release to another.
I agree. And just one more thing. I mean, I just worked on an update on the AIX strategy paper, so that will be published shortly. So stay tuned for that one. And that contains, of course, all the information that I just talked about in terms of release strategy and such.
Excellent, excellent. So let's turn our attention to staying current on the power servers. And Terry, what are your thoughts on these numbers?
Yeah, good transition, Tom. And, you know, just I'll piggyback on what Petra said, but just to introduce this, you know, you see 38.7 on Power 9. That's a good number considering that we started rolling out Power 9 in December 2017 with our AC922 server, which is a GPU-based server. We just delivered, and just as, you know, in the context of this is very impressive. A year later, in December, we finished a complete portfolio of all of our scale-up systems in fourth quarter 2018. So the fact that we're seeing a very good adoption of Power 9 is a good sign, considering we've been on this journey for about a year and about 2 or 3 months or so. Clients usually take about 1 to 2 years to upgrade their systems. So this number is pretty impressive. Now behind this, the why again, I think is important. Power Systems has a good track record of reliability. You know, 99.999% reliability in the industry, which no other systems has. And with that, we also, you know, these customers running on older platforms are also able to appreciate their near-term current requirements for technology, but also foresight into the future. So the fact that these customers are able to appreciate AIX, IBM, and Linux, as well as the hardware capabilities of the systems within their current industries is a positive thing. Now, with that said, we will have into service for our Power 5, Power 6, and Power 7 offerings this year, and this chart speaks to that. As you can see, in January of 2019, this year, we executed into service for Power 5, our Power 5 offerings, and later this month, we will do the same for our Power 6 offerings. And then later this year, in September, we will execute on Power 7. This gives clients a great opportunity to move up to Power 9, where they can, you know, appreciate the table stakes, which I call, and that includes reliability, updated warranties, improved scalability and economics. But as I stated before, Power 9, as we did with Power 5, Power 6, Power 7, introduces foresight into the future. And with that, increased I/O capabilities with PCIe Gen 4 and cloud and AI capabilities as well, so clients can expand their clients' capabilities. So on this chart, thanks for showing this chart too, Tom.
Yes.
We've delivered a complete portfolio of systems built for scale out, which includes systems purposely built for SAP HANA, enterprise scale-up systems, which includes our core business around AIX and IBM for critical workloads such as Oracle and SAP, and also WebSphere and DB2, and also Linux-only servers, which are ideal for powerful open source workloads, performance and at an economic price. And then finally, as I mentioned, in December 2017, we announced our GPU-based servers, which are specifically targeted for AI and cognitive computing. These servers come coupled with NVIDIA GPUs that have NVLink bandwidth between them, between the CPU and GPU, therefore providing leadership performance in the area of AI. And we publish papers. You can do some research. Anyone can just go out and look at these capabilities around this server, where we produce up to 46x times better than our competitors who are based on Intel. So we're proud of this portfolio, and we encourage customers to upgrade to take advantage of those capabilities around multi-cloud and other table stakes in AI.
Those are impressive numbers. So Petra, I think we wanted to have you talk about the reasons to upgrade.
Yeah, exactly. So why to upgrade and why to stay current? I think there are various piece parts to that. One for sure is TCO, and I guess we touched on, Terry talked about that, right? That power systems consolidation capabilities that improve with every generation and such. But security is an important one as well. As we think about, and if we think about new types of attacks, such as Spectre meltdown, for instance, that can only be mitigated on current hardware, or let's say hardware that is still supported, most of the times from a feasibility standpoint, but as well from an effort standpoint, as you probably can imagine. Third one is support. And from my perspective, and I guess I mentioned that already, clients really put themselves at risk running on outdated, unsupported versions, not only in terms of security. And I have a quick example for you. 2 days before Christmas, I received an email last year from a client that was like a couple of days down because they were running 5.2 and had no backup, and then now wanted the 5.2 media from my side in order to get back into operation. So I mean, these type of things are very dangerous. The problem is just that AIX just runs forever, right?
It's running your critical business, right? I mean, that's and people don't think about that.
Exactly. So yeah, that's really a dangerous area from my perspective. And fourth, and not the least, is new features and offerings, right, that are only available on current release streams, as we have seen in terms of AIX and AIX 7.2, but as well new capabilities throughout our power system software stack, or whole new offerings, what we will see on the next 2 slides. And this is an animated slide just summarizing recent enhancements throughout our power system software stack, such as that we put Power VM Enterprise Edition in every Power 9 server to make it mobile and cloud enabled, so that you can move any workloads from Power 7 and 8 to 9 without interruption, and had improvements in the mobility, live partition mobility area, as we now compress and encrypt LPM data, which accelerates live partition mobility operations tremendously and makes them more secure. And then, of course, in terms of Power VC, with a lot of new capabilities, in particular focused around cloud, such as export and import capabilities, where you can export VMs and import it in the public cloud. We integrated with Spectrum Scale for SAN-less scenarios. We brought KVM-based systems into the picture and integrate with high-level cloud orchestrators, such as IBM Cloud Private. We had various improvements throughout our security and compliance offering portfolio to help clients in terms of compliance automation, malware intrusion prevention, security audits with multi-factor authentication to, well, comply to various standards, but as well keep a high percentage of breaches out. And the last block is on the right-hand side, high availability, and we have seen various improvements in terms of cloud there as well, such as a new backup to cloud option with PowerHA for AIX, failover metrics so that clients can see where time was spent during a failover and more. And then a whole new portfolio of offerings, the VM recovery managers and HR and DR flavor, which is a VM restart based OS agnostic HA solution, and thus very well suited for cloud deployments. And if you click once more, a lot of these improvements and the latest releases are only supported on current hardware. That means only on P7 Plus and above. Another example is on the next slide, and this is our new cloud edition, IBM Power Systems Enterprise Cloud Edition, which really is, from my perspective, an AIX Enterprise Edition type of offering, but with a much broader scope in terms of supported operating systems and bundled components. And on this one, I was really, and still I'm very excited, and several of our clients as well. And this really was the first offering I took to market where I got questioned in terms of how to configure an eConfig before it actually GA'd, which happened in November. And this as well, if you click once more, this is only available on Power 8 and 9. So if clients are interested in that, it's good to be on current hardware.
Excellent. Thank you for sharing those updates with the operating system and new features or new offerings in that area. Let's turn our attention to staying current in the data center. And if you're not on 7.2 or Power 9, what's keeping you from going there and upgrading to the latest and greatest hardware or operating system? Petra, what do you think those are, or why they should be anyways?
I guess I touched on why upgrading is so important and as well beneficial for clients. So for those of you who selected here current OS is sufficient, maybe I gave you some thoughts to think about. The predominant one here is application limitations, and this is actually what I hear and see the most when asking clients what keeps them from upgrading, because I get all these requests for service extension and such, right? And that's the #1 question I ask back before I follow up. And my advice here is really let us know what are the applications that keep you from upgrading. Let your ISV know so that we can see what we can do. But still, due to our architecture, right, clients can run the majority of workloads on a current OS and maybe just have a couple of cores running on such an older version for this one application that is stuck with it. But yeah, there are ways to get across that hurdle.
Okay. Terry, what are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, connecting the dots here, and adding on to what Petra just stated, you know, a lot of these clients that possibly will survey are more of our enterprise scale-up type of servers, large type of industries. And it could be, and I could be misled there, but nevertheless, you know, with that, you know, as we rolled out our portfolio completion in December 2018, fourth quarter, some of these clients may still be in the ramp up stage of adopting Power 9 as well as AIX 7.2. With that said, you know, I suspect the application limitations are more based on in-house applications, as I think Petra was alluding to as well. With AIX 7.2 and Power 9, you know, we provide seamless migration from older platforms to Power 9 through LPM. And some of the key ISV workloads should run almost seamlessly as well. So IBM offers a plethora of ways to get around any unique application challenges that are represented here, and one of those could be with lab-based services, which is a key offering as they upgrade to Power 9 Enterprise Services as well.
Yeah, one of my thoughts on this, even though it's a lower percent, no time, not a project, is if you don't have time and it's not a project, maybe you don't have the staff to do it. And things like cloud offering are definitely a reality for AIX, and of course Linux on Power are all things that can be done through IBM and other business partners. Yep,
exactly. And I think with our new cloud offerings, on-prem and off-prem, that just makes that more, more simple to adopt as well for Power 9 and AIX.
Yeah. So another question we asked is, have you evaluated Linux on Power, and are you doing it? Have you evaluated, or you haven't looked at it at all? And Terry, what are your thoughts on Linux on Power and the success for the Power server?
So Tom, as I stare at this chart, you know, I consider this positive. What it's telling me is that the majority, about 66%, 2/3, have either already moved or in the process of moving, are planning to move to Power Linux. Power Linux as a core application. The 17% that have not evaluated yet, well, that's TBD. They probably need some
Right.
time to go, look at it and see what the options are. But from a business standpoint, this is positive. We provided clients to build with Linux on Power, industry standard Linux on Power, so they can be more flexible in their environments and more cloud-like. With the rollout of Power 8, we enabled Power systems to fully support industry standard Linux. Before that, we had our industry more proprietary Power Linux offering, but we separated ourselves from that and became completely playable in the industry market with industry standard Linux. And since that time, our Power business has become our Power Linux on Power business has become a significant part of our business portfolio. And Tom, that has been led by SAP HANA, which last year we earned the SAP Pinnacle Award, which spoke to and well deserved of our efforts, not only in the business around SAP HANA, but also around our innovation and new capabilities we brought to the market with SAP HANA as well. So I expect this to continue to grow as customers adopt Power 9 and Linux.
Well, and I wonder too, we saw out at IBM Think back in San Francisco, Ginny was interviewing the CEO of Red Hat, right? I mean, IBM's obviously gotten very close with the Red Hat Linux too, and that has to be positive for the future in Linux on Power.
Yeah, it is. And as Ginny spoke to the broad audience there, it gives us a play horizontally, as Red Hat is the de facto when it comes to Linux, especially in the cloud environments. And then if you look at our enterprise plays around Power systems, it gives a beautiful marriage between the two for customers to securely and comfortably deploy and leverage very flexible Linux offerings, as well as the management of those environments across a hybrid of operating systems for their on-prem and off-prem IT sources.
Excellent. Let's move on and talk about, are you running AIX on the same frame as Linux or the IBM I operating system? Petra, what are your thoughts on this one?
Well, I think it's great to see that clients are running AIX and other operating systems side by side, as this is one of our value propositions with Power and Power VM, right? That clients can run their mission critical workloads on AIX, but at the same time spin up some Linux VMs for different kind of workloads. One thing that I still see in particular with our big clients, that one of them has, for instance, a huge AIX install base, but as well a huge HANA install base. But these days they still set them up as different servers, but have a more longer term roadmap to basically consolidate both of these workloads onto the same servers and run as one private cloud, so to speak, with a roadmap of 5 years or so.
Excellent. And then we have total OS 400 images. What percent of your total OS images in your environment are AIX? And Petra, again, if you don't mind talking to this one.
Yeah, I guess that relates to some of the things we touched on, in particular in terms of bigger clients took the server versus smaller shops. But I mean, in general, clients running AIX usually run a significant portion of their workloads on AIX. Several clients are pure AIX stops still and will be, which I see in particular in the federal space due to their nature and their requirements. One thing that came to my mind is if clients taking the survey were answering that question more like percentage of AIX versus percentage total OSs in their enterprise, or if they were more answering in terms of their Power segment, dependent on which area they work in. So we might want to think about or putting more details on that question in next year's survey.
Excellent. All right, well, let's move on and talk about IT initiatives. It's always important to hear from customers and what are their top IT concerns and what they're thinking about as you plan your AIX environments over the next year or so. Petra, let's have you go first on this one.
Yeah, just to keep this brief, I think this is a very good overview. No big surprises, though I'm wondering why compliance and regulation is relatively low, because a lot of our power systems clients need to comply to industry standards and regulations, right?
Yeah, I mean, I guess if we total up cybersecurity with compliance and managed file transfer, those kind of all fit in that security space, right? So, I mean,
Yeah.
there's a fairly important level.
Yeah.
Terry, what do you think on this chart?
Yeah, along the lines of what Petra just stated, I see this chart as almost identical, to typical IT concerns as clients are running their business. But however, I like to group, summarize it in a couple of ways as well. Insights, as we talk about artificial intelligence,
Right.
I suspect that's going to grow, Tom, as clients have a growing need, not just to drive transactions, but to have an understanding of those transactions and drive the insights for their business as well. Um, Power 9 is adequately in, I would say, the leadership platform to satisfy those needs. The other
Right.
grouping, I would say, is cloud. So if you look at cloud management, cloud computing, data access, mobile,
Yep.
AIX is key to satisfy that as well as they look ahead for run their cloud business, since AIX will be in the public cloud, and we have sufficient offerings to make them more flexible with AIX on-prem within their private clouds as well. And then the third table stakes, as Petra and I have talked about, modernization, cost efficiency, reliability, and compliance and things. We have a strong roadmap, the leadership, I would say leadership industry roadmap based on data that shows that AIX and Power Systems are adequately ready and available to serve those needs as well.
Excellent. We do a similar set of questions on the IBM I side, and cybersecurity by far is the number one thing in there. And I'm a little surprised too, going along with Petra on that it wasn't the number one thing, because I think on every CIO's mind is, I don't want to get hacked, and I got to make sure my security is good. And maybe there's that feeling in the AIX administrators and people taking the survey that security is pretty good on their end.
Yeah.
But we can't become complacent on that topic either, though. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, the other thing when I look at this chart and I think, wow, there's a lot of things that people have to be concerned with when they're in IT. In
Yeah.
general, it's a hard job.
Yeah.
So speaking of cybersecurity, let's turn our attention to some of the things that are in place, or maybe things that people are planning to put in place with firewalls and antivirus and compliance reporting. And Petra, what are your thoughts on this?
If I recall correctly, this view is somewhat consistent to last year's survey. Again, regulated compliance is relatively low, but if you sum up, well, the percentage of clients having it in place and planning for it, it looks much better. Similar, I was a little bit surprised of the low percentage on multi-factor authentication, just due to the huge push around multi-factor authentication in terms of regulations such as GDPR and PCI, and just in general that MFA basically allows you to keep out a quite high percentage of breaches. So some of the bigger clients I work with, they really come out with that multi-factor authentication for everyone policy, but looks like several other companies are not there yet. Yeah.
Yeah. Excellent. Well, and I know our solutions tick the box in a few of these different areas, and I'm kind of surprised, like with antivirus, that it's as high as 50% have something in place. But to me, they must be scanning AIX from the network versus a native scan. And then pointing out privileged user management, in my mind, with root access and things like that. It's got to be one of those things that you control and have a better feel for who's using it, who isn't, and tracking that activity. And if anything, for the IT professional, it's just a peace of mind knowing that it wasn't me that did it, kind of thing. And having a better tracking in that area is important too. So a lot of, again, issues for people in the security space that they have to be thinking about. And then, of course, as we move forward and talk about cybersecurity challenges, It isn't going to get any easier. These regulations like Sarbanes-Oxley have been around for, well, I mean, almost 19 years now with SOX, and then other things, to your point, last year with GDPR becoming finally really kind of being enforced from a European standard. It just means everybody around the world is concerned about these things. What do you think, Petra?
Yeah, so I think here we are back with the compliance and regulation story, right? And of course, I mean, IBM and the whole power system stack provides capabilities throughout the stack to help with these. And I touched on the Power IC portfolio, and one of its main goals is, right, to help clients simplify management of security and compliance by providing automation, by providing a nice web-based user interface and all that. And of course, we have a broad ecosystem of partners providing offerings in addition, such as you guys from Health Systems.
Thank you. Yes, excellent. And then what regulations do you adhere to was another question that we had in the survey, and what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I think this looks different to last year's and is very consistent to what I see and hear from clients and the field. Would be a trend. So maybe next year we add a question, how many 5 years ago, right? Because I think that really changed in the last couple of years. And from my perspective, I assume as well these numbers will change quite a bit in upcoming years, and I think they will increase. Of course, we provide tools and capabilities to simplify all that, but just due to its importance and just the risk associated with security, I assume companies need to put quite some investment in increasing that staff around security.
Right, and from my perspective, I've always been in the automation space and helping people with enterprise scheduling, workload automation, all those kinds of things. And I think the same can be applied here in the cybersecurity area as a vendor in this space, is that paying attention to more automation to help people be able to do more with less staff, but yet feel good about their cybersecurity strategies is important. And I think that that's something that we're bringing to the table, is to help with deployment and automation and being able to do things remotely. That's important when it comes to security, so we can keep the staff levels lower than expected. So let's move into our last item and topic area of the outlook for the AIX platform, and we'll turn it back to you, Terry. We've been quiet for a while. We didn't have you chime in much on the security area. What are your thoughts on core business running on AIX?
Yes, Petra's the security expert. On this chart, this is positive. It's basically stating that 41% of our clients run 75% of our core business applications core business applications on AIX. I suspect with the growing Linux on Power offerings and capabilities, several of them are also running on Linux on Power and even IBM I. I mean, because look at it, we're in a world now where hybrid cloud, clients need diversity and flexibility with their environments, where they're running different types of applications and different types of OSs. But one key thing here that I think will change, because when you took the survey in December, we didn't have AIX in the public cloud.
Right.
So I think these numbers will change for the better, even probably in the 20 to 50 segment, especially as we look at AIX in the public cloud, providing multi-cloud capabilities where customers can move segments of their core workloads on-prem and off-prem.
Right. And that's a great point on the whole cloud technology. There's so many people that pick up their cell phone in this world that don't realize behind that cloud application that they're executing on, there's a large infrastructure behind the scenes, and there's a good chance that they're actually touching a power server and don't
And
even realize.
AIX.
Yeah, and
Yep.
AIX or something behind I or Linux. I mean, those platforms. So the other question that we ask customers in this area of what's happening is, what are your plans as you look at the AIX platform? Are you migrating? Are you extending to other platforms, increasing that AIX footprint? You know, what are your thoughts on this area, Terry?
Yeah. So, Tom, 54.4%. That's impressive, especially in the world, as I just mentioned before. This is a good transition, smooth transition into the hybrid cloud and the diversity that clients need in a hybrid cloud type of environment. Different OSs, different workloads, different configurations, and the ability to dynamically move those workloads between off-prem and on-prem for various economic reasons. This chart shows a small percentage are planning to move all or off to a new platform, and it seems to be mostly around Linux, x86, and public cloud, if I connect the dots there properly.
Right.
Again, we intentionally have made AIX available in the public cloud, and I'll say IBM public cloud, as well as several other major public clouds, including CSPs. We're doing that intentionally as we see the needs of clients around the cloud and cloud business. They need that flexibility and dynamic economics. So, it'd be interesting to see how this pans out, a few months from now, as more clients now understand that if they want to move and need to move to cloud, as this chart is implying, they don't have to just simply move to x86. They can keep those workloads on AIX or Linux on Power and run them in the public cloud as well.
Right. Okay, and Petra, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, just to add one more thing to this, right? I mean, about a third intends to increase the footprint, which is great to see. And if I recall correctly, last year it was over 50% that planned to increase. So I guess that means a lot of them already did invest and increase the AIX footprint. So I think that is a good story, and in particular in these times where Linux is all over the place. So that's great to see.
Yeah, I mean, and my thought on this is that the one operating system that's truly growing out there is Linux over almost everything else, and so you would expect some migration naturally to that. And to piggyback on Terry's comment about the fact that AIX now is in the cloud, and I can say there's some really large players that besides IBM that have that offering available. The other thing too is I like to point out is that that 2 to 5+ year migration type customers, every CIO in the world should always be looking at their technology, evaluating what they're on, and considering where we want to go. And sometimes those customers are thinking 2 to 5+ years, that may never happen. And so people shouldn't get too excited about those customers in that mix, because they're evaluating technology, and they need to be doing that. That's their responsibility as the C-level suite around IT technology in general. So then the last slide we have from the survey, before we have some additional IBM slides, is what do you feel about your return on investment on the AIX server? And Terry, back to you.
Yeah, this is good. I'd like to possibly understand more of the no there, but the 73.7% is very impressive, and I think it speaks and confirms to our total cost of ownership competitively against other platforms and operating systems, as well as RAS and overall performance in this space. So I think that's good.
Petra?
Yeah, so of course I like the high percentage. I think last year we were in the 85% area even. So constant high percentages, which is good to see. I think challenges we have in Power Systems is that a lot of clients operate more short term and only look at the first 2 years instead of looking at the TCO, so to speak. So I think we have done a couple of things to provide option here for clients that struggle with making such a case more short term. So on the next slide, I talk a little bit of these options, because sometimes smaller clients or clients with seasonal workloads, or even CSPs and MSPs that try to balance their cost, right, struggle with a relatively high investment in the beginning in AIX. So we put out an AIX monthly offering a while ago. One pain point was the ordering system it was made available through. So in last year, I worked towards making these AIX monthly packages available through AIX config, so clients can purchase them the usual way, how they acquire the hardware and additional power system software. So a client could just go there, purchase such a 3-month package that includes license for POC or seasonal workload, and then basically come back anytime they need an additional package instead of purchasing the perpetual license. The other thing is capacity on demand, which is out there since a while, but it always was not really that much on demand, because you still had to place an order, you had to wait until you get it, and until that point maybe your peak is already over. So last year we spent quite some effort on making capacity on demand available through EES and the marketplace, so that clients can purchase additional capacity in a self-service manner and really purchase and activate that within minutes. And I think that's really a great story, and I put the link for more details here. My last chart is on AIX modernization, and I think we always delivered and constantly improved AIX in terms of new features and capabilities, and strengthen its core capabilities around performance, scale, availability, and security to provide a high-value platform for mission-critical workloads. But since a while, we are delivering modernizations alongside, such as open source space, delivering chef recipes, Ansible playbooks, recently started to contribute to the Puppet community. We are constantly broadening and updating packages on the AIX toolbox, and more. And one package, for instance, we put out there in December enables, for instance, to use AIX in Kubernetes via ICP, which we can see on the bottom left here.
Excellent.
Of course, when it comes to cloud, we have a variety of on-prem cloud capabilities, but Terry touched on that. We as well provide AIX in the public cloud with partners, but as well in the IBM cloud, and with capabilities that we enable in Power VC, for instance, you can easily export VMs from your data center into such a public cloud environment without having to do a whole lot of refactoring, which is a great story. Then AIX in the hyperconverged space, which with Nutanix, where we had a partnerships on the Linux side of things since a while, and now enabled selected AIX workloads to run on that infrastructure as well. And the last but not least is AIX and AI, or better phrased, AI capabilities on enterprise systems, where we are investigating several paths. But for instance, we made Python-based machine learning packages available on the AIX toolbox and published a blog how clients can get started with machine learning type of things on AIX as well.
Excellent, excellent. Well, this has been a great webinar sharing the marketplace or the community survey around AIX, and I wanted to just kind of hit on some key points from today. 92% run 25% or more core business process on AIX, and 48% run more than 50%. So definitely an operating system that's being used to host a lot of business around the world. 74% believe that IBM AIX provides a better return on investment, and I think with the new stories around Power 9 and some of the product offerings in the cloud, that percent should even get higher and higher as we look out into the future. 54% are interested in increasing or maintaining their AIX footprints, so that's a great number speaking about the future of the operating system. There's been a great transition already from the people who took the survey. 39% own Power 9 servers. 38% said that high availability is top of concern, and I know that there's great offerings around Power HA and other technologies to help deliver that number for you. 34% also indicate AIX skill shortage is a top concern, and I think that you have to look at the big picture. There's an overall IT top or a IT shortage in general. It's not just impacting AIX, it's every operating system out there, and so that's not to be unexpected. I think we need to think about what we're doing to bring new people to our organizations. 62% of the organizations have 3 or more staff members focused on security, kind of drawing out that security is on every CIO's mind around the organization. Yet we do still see 50% or more respondents said their companies lack virus protection, multi-factor authentication, database encryption, and other technologies. I want to thank Terry and Petra for joining me today and helping us out. We do have one more polling question I want to open up here to share with you. I'm going to launch that in the background. Somebody might question, why do we do the AIX community survey? Well, Help Systems is in the AIX space and growing in this space, and we do some things that you may or may not know about. We do provide free AIX security scans. By the way, you can click on more than just one on this. We also do have cybersecurity technology here at Help Systems, several offerings in that area. We do also automation. We talked a bit about the need for security automation. Well, we play in the space of robotic process automation, RPA, workload automation, enterprise scheduling. And then as you look at your Power 9 technology, we have the ability to help you predict what size server you need with our capacity planning and even monitoring technology that we do. And then for some of you, you might just want a Help Systems technology overview itself. I do a lot of those one-on-one calls with our customers to help explain what we do and help solve some of those top concerns that you have in 2019. So while we leave that poll open just for a little bit longer here, I just want to remind you that we have a Q&A here that we did record this session, and there will be handouts available to you. The first question I saw out there is, where does somebody go today? What's the best place to go for education around the AIX operating system itself? Who would like to take that?
Oh, I can take that. I mean, there are various options. I mean, one option is lab services that provide training and engagements to help with POCs and such. And of course, a lot of them are PowerCare eligible. Then we have the technical universities where we have a lot of AIX sessions. And at recent Tech Use, we introduced a new AIX for Rookies track. And there are, of course, more options available as well that we can tweak to client needs. So in case someone is interested in that, or as well in other topics I talked about, feel free to reach out to me via email.
Thank you, Petra. And before we go on to the next question, our Help Systems here, we do have a lot of different systems management, automation software available to you. Cybersecurity, we recently just did another acquisition. We offer up pen testing, threat detection, identity governance and administration with our core security offering, privileged user access with the box and the identity and access manager solution. We also have a SIM today, managed file transfer if you're looking for something there. We help customers out with that. Antivirus natively on Linux on Power, and also AIX on Power. We do an antivirus solution. And then if you don't know where your security sits, we do offer up free security scans. And then from an automation standpoint, we do the enterprise scheduling, the robotic process automation, the capacity planning, sizing your next IBM purchase with Power technology. We can take even Windows workloads and size them. Maybe you're running Intel-based AI, and we can say go from Intel to Linux on Power. We can help size that. But of course, we can do the AIX Power 9 type sizing capabilities, and then document management, and we even offer up some things in BI. So that's that. Let's see what we have for time here. If we have time for one more question or comment from our host. Terry, any final comments from you on the Power 9 AIX and where things are going?
Yeah, so thanks, Tom. Thanks for having me. And this was an honor and privilege to participate in this. Just a couple of things I'd like to close with is the fact of our end of service, right, around our legacy platform. So if anyone's running on Power 5, Power 6, Power 7, I'd just like to reiterate that this is this year is a key time to take advantage of the Power 9 upgrades as those end of services will be put in place this year. And with that, there's improved warranty and security enablements, as well as the other table stakes, but also the fact that we have built Power 9 for clients to move forward with cloud capabilities, unique cloud capabilities, and AI capabilities as well.
Excellent. Well, again, Terry, Petra, thank you for joining me. We did record today's session. There will be an option to play it back. And for all you customers, we hope to see you out at IBM Tech U, Common, let's see, IBM Think a year from now almost. And other than that, have a great rest of the 2019 year. And thank you for joining us on yet another Help Systems webinar. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.